All right. I hope everyone had a good day. It is Thursday, the 20th. I ended up, or we took one trade today, and that trade was a Cheyenne trade that he called out that I also liked and had conviction for. Going into this morning, I personally didn't take any trade. I didn't really get any clean setup that I wanted. We'll go over the setup that I would have taken. This was the only really thing that I was looking at. Again, going into today, like we talked about last night, how our bigger models have been playing out a lot more recently, and our smaller models have been playing out less recently. Like you can see on the 5 minute here going into the day, we sweep liquidity. We have a 5 minute fair value gap going into the day. So I am bullish, right? Both ES and NQ have swept liquidity. We now form SMT at the lows, right? This is showing us a clear sign that we're most likely, now that we grab liquidity, we're going to go back to sell side, or going to go back to weekly opening gap, or at least retrace 50%, right? So we draw in from the high to the low. We know we're at least going to retrace 50%. And also, if we go to a bigger time frame, this is still one drop move, so we'd at least retrace 50% from this move like we did here. So on the 5 minute, have internal buy side right here. Again, like we said, bigger models playing out more. This 5 minute ended up holding really, really nicely. This is where I was looking to potentially take a long, because if we're looking at like a 5 minute, we have liquidity swept, we have internal swept, but we don't really have a market structure shift yet, right? There's no high being broken. After this liquidity is swept, the first high that gets broken, this would not be considered it, right? I wouldn't really consider this it. It would be this, because this is the high that we get with big displacement. So this is our market structure shift. Oh, get a fair value gap created. Also, we kind of have like this breaker block here. Pull that over. This comes back. 5 minute candle ends up holding this, right? But we have to take into account, if we're taking a long here, we'd have to keep in mind what our risk would be. Because if this was on a smaller time frame and I was going to enter off this fair value gap, whatever I'm targeting, my stop would have to be this low for me to be invalidated, right? For this trade to be invalidated, I'd have to give it at least room to the low of this wick. But I'm not going to do that because the risk reward is just not worth it, right? It's a 1.2. It's just not worth doing that. So I'd want to see us hold this fair value gap, then bounce, and then form a fair value gap, right? And that's what we got here. Once I saw that we were holding on a 5 minute time frame, we get pushed up. This would have been my, this is what I really would enter on, is this volume imbalance. Once we take this low out, I want to see if we formed SMT. I don't think we did at the time. I remember thinking about it. Or maybe we did. Oh, we did. So we actually did form SMT here. So this was SMT. So once we formed SMT after the 5 minute, this would have been my entry. But again, I was a little bit skeptical taking this just because the action in the last couple of days, but it seems like today was a lot better than before. But again, still really no clean setups. But this would have been nice. 5 minute fair value gap, 5 minute candles continuing to hold. 5 minute candle closes, showing we're still holding. 1 minute SMT, we get a big push up, volume imbalance, another big candle, pull back to the volume imbalance. That would have been my long entry targeting buy side, stop below these wicks. And then this would have been another entry right here, which I was thinking about taking. Fair value gap created, pull back into this, targeting buy side. Runners would go to really, is there any equal highs here? I guess there is all of these kind of stacked stuff here. So there's targets. All of that, again, all has to get taken out. You can see all these equal highs ended up getting taken out. I wanted to take that trade, but the candle that pulled in the fair value gap was really strong. Exactly. I remember it happened, and I was going to take this, but then it looked like news came out or something. We just got a big volume, and we got big volume come in and just like pushed down hard into this. And I thought we were just going to go right through it. And so I was very skeptical. Once I saw that action, I was like, whoa. I'd rather watch it and be sure than take something like that. Why didn't you take the first initial fair value gap test? Just curious what the thought process was. Which one? Are you talking about this one, or are you talking about the 5 minute? This 5 minute, we still ended up holding a 1 minute fair value gap here as well. The 5 minute or the 1 minute? The 1, not the 5. So the reason why I was skeptical in taking this is because when this candle came in, I didn't record I fucked up my recording today, so I can't show you like what the actual action looked like. I wish I did. Actually, let me see if I can find. I don't think I recorded today. I recorded my other screen, but not my charts. Yeah, this is the different day. But at the time when we got this action, we got like a really big amount of volume that came in, and just like this candle like spiked. Like it looked like kind of news came out, right? We just had a big push up, and then it flipped like immediately, and then like had a big push down. So I was kind of scared because I was expecting, you know, this to just get ran through and then go back down, especially with the action of ES lately. I would not have been surprised if we just knifed through it. So once I saw the action, I was like, oh, I'm gonna just hold off on it. I'd rather wait because I could see us flushing through, and then we ended up just holding it and then go back. But that candle pulling back ended up just kind of scaring me a little bit, just because of the action of it. Exactly. Yeah. The past few weeks, our model's been playing out bigger time frames. We look at 5 minute again. We have everything we want: external, SMT, market structure shift, 5 minute fair value gap holding. It's just looking to see where we can get the best entry with keeping the best risk, right? Keeping the best risk with the best entry. So we have a 5 minute fair value gap. Let me see like if where we could potentially look for entry. We have kind of like this breaker block. We have a 2 minute fair value gap here. We have the 1 minute here. I think I'd honestly kind of look to see if we retrace back into this 1 minute. This would have been potentially long. And then once I see us hold it, I also would like, once the SMT formed too, that would probably be my entry. Once we got this big candle up, just taking along. But again, I like to take trades off fair value gaps, but recently we haven't been getting the best entries with those. So I think once I get confirmation on a bigger time frame like this, because we're in a fair value gap, right? On a bigger time frame, we're in this 5 minute fair value gap. But since I'm looking for an entry on the 1 minute and looking to get the best fill, once I get confirmation that we're holding this, like once I see this SMT formed and then this big candle comes in, I'm looking to get long immediately now, right? To get the best fill possible and the best risk. Like the risk reward is fine taking this, right? We have, you know, confirmation, 5 minute fair value gap, everything we look, we're just on a 1 minute, we just have to see what the best risk reward would be. Any explanation why NQ started dumping at 1312 EST instead of going to buy side? Let me see. So NQ went back to weekly opening gap, perfectly hit it. Literally to the exact tick, actually almost to the exact tick, but perfectly nice little rejection there. Did ES end up taking that high out? So ES never took that high out as well. So ES and NQ both did not take that next buy side level. Let me take all this stuff off. And it didn't need to. It didn't need to. This to me is low resistance liquidity. What I mean by low that's another thing we got to cover too. I don't think we've ever gone over low resistance liquidity. I'll post a video. T-Trades, again, the man has posted videos on low resistance liquidity run, but most of the time, like this is also low resistance liquidity run. But when we get like stacked lows like this, especially if we look at like a bigger time frame, like a 4 hour, and we have all these lows that are next to each other, most of the time these will all get swept in the same session, because before we retake buy side liquidity, we gather liquidity from all these lows, which is we call it a low resistance liquidity run, since all of this is technically low resistance since they're so close to each other, right? Like this is also low resistance liquidity run, these two lows down here. So I am bullish going into tomorrow though, because I honestly liked that we came back down and swept one more time, because then ES now took this external level. Like there's no really other low except this low right here. So we have all this internal liquidity now taken and this external now taken. So looking at like a bigger time frame, this looks really good. Again, internal swept. I guess this would be break of structure. Well, like we're probably going to hold this and then bounce to take out buy side from this high at least. Let me look at the 15 minute. And we have this big fair value up on the 15 minute, also kind of like a breaker block here. Past order block pulled over. So I am bullish going in tomorrow. I'm expecting this in the overnight session. I'm expecting that in the overnight session. Same thing with NQ. NQ took liquidity again. From these lows, definitely expecting us to come back up, take back buy side liquidity. This does look actually really clean though. I'm not gonna lie. Like this chart, I'm pretty confident that ES will go back to buy side tomorrow. If not take out this buy side liquidity tomorrow. Up here. So I'm pretty bullish going into tomorrow. Chop overnight, save buy side for us. I agree. Agreed. But this would be like a long, like, I honestly might, I don't know if I want to take a trade overnight, but I kind of want to retrace a little bit more, but we don't have to. Do it. I don't know if I want to take an overnight swing. If I'm going to take it, it's going to be with like a 1 or 2 micros because I'm not going to risk a lot, right? Because that's not how I trade. But it might be worth a try. I definitely like swept external. Internal's been swept. We have massive displacement back to the upside. We're holding this for value at past breaker block as well. I definitely think the next draw on liquidity is this high. So do you think the price action will continue to be bad since our economy is suffering, or is it just a phase? I think it'll continue to be bad until it doesn't. For the simple answer, it's just it happens until it doesn't happen. There's nothing we can control. It's best to not try to think. Like I don't care to predict what the kind of action is going to happen next. Our job is to just recognize it when it happens and take advantage if it's good and take a step back if it's bad. But I could not tell you how price action is going to be tomorrow. I cannot tell you how it's going to be the next day. I can't tell you what it's going to be a month from now. But yeah, we'll see how this plays out. Again, back to weekly opening gap. Like, no, guys, notice how strong weekly opening gap has been this week. How strong it has been, especially on NQ. Weekly opening gap created here, pulls back down, right back to it, acts as resistance, pulls back, right back to it, acts as resistance, sells back off, pushes right back to it, goes through it, goes right back to it, goes under it, acts as resistance, goes down, takes sell side, goes right back to it, goes down, takes sell side, goes right back to it. Like it's crazy. Even on ES2, sells off, goes right back to it, goes up, goes right back to it, goes down, goes right back to it, goes back. Like the weekly opening gap is such a strong tool. Especially in this kind of market condition. Now, I do want to look at NQ here and see if there's a reason for me to get long. We have equal lows here on NQ. If NQ made a higher low here, I would want to enter because then we'd have that SMT going into that fair value gap. Again, internal swept. Oh, did we form equal high? Oh, we form equal highs here. I'd kind of want to see us retrace to 50%, but we don't really have to. I mean, again, like we've been backtesting though, we'll see if this holds or not. Equal low SMT, we'll see. I've been backtesting it a little bit, so we'll see. Most likely not going to take a swing though. You guys could give it a try, honestly. Just make sure you have, proper risk and trade like just a couple micros, if that. But I do think that we will push up on the overnight session. Again, I just want to keep looking at this and see if I can see anything. Again, external swept, internal swept, big displacement back up, massive fair value gap, 15-minute fair value gap, 30-minute, no fair value gap, but we have the 5-minute, both of these fair value gaps. If we have two fair value gaps, I'd rather see the one in discount get hit. So that's why I'd rather see us pull back just a little bit more. But again, we also are holding this order block here. So very interesting setup, honestly. Very interesting chart. But to me, this looks insanely bullish. This looks really bullish. Do want to look at a 4-hour as well. 4-hour honestly looks kind of bearish. But again, looking at a lower time frame like this, though, this looks bullish. So I'd rather just kind of watch and see what happens in the overnight session. I don't really care to take any swings. Where would you put your stop loss? And could you explain how you spot SMT? Yeah, SMT is just a divergence between ES and NQ. So if I'm looking at ES and I'm looking at NQ, I look for what's making a higher low and what's making a lower low, or what's making a higher high, what's making a lower high, right? So this, for example, was an SMT. We put a low in right here. Going into today, I was bullish because we swept external liquidity, and then we formed a 5-minute SMT. So you can see on the right, NQ is making a higher low after external sweep, and ES is forming a lower low, right? So we swept liquidity internally on ES. NQ never took that low, so this is a bullish SMT. And then you can see ever since we put that low in and formed the SMT, we had a rocket ship all the way up to weekly opening gap on both ES and NQ. How do you use volume imbalances? What do they signify for you? For me, it's just another kind of PD array that I'd look to enter. Like, for example, that trade I was looking at today on the 5-minute on ES, I was looking to take a long off the imbalance, but I was a little bit skeptical on it. I didn't have the confidence in it yet because it would be off a 5-minute PD array, right? Or a 5-minute model, right? We have external swept, 5-minute fair value gap, 5-minute market structure shift. This would be the long entry that I'd be looking for. But since I normally trade on a smaller time frame, I'd want to look for a better entry. So right now, I just wanted to watch today and see how it would play out. But this would be right here. Once we have, again, another SMT formed right here at the lows, this is showing that we're continuing to hold that 5-minute fair value gap. If I go over to NQ at the time, you can see NQ formed a higher low. And this is bullish. Once we then got this big push up, we created a volume imbalance. Now, volume imbalance is when a candle jumps and you have this imbalance here, right? So this is what the volume imbalances would be, right? Notice how these candles don't connect. The way the candle bodies don't connect. Notice how all these other candles, their bodies connect, right? That it's a clean, it's a straight line that they connect to. But with here, it just jumps, right? That's a volume imbalance. And this is going to act as a fair value gap. It's going to act as a PD array where if we pull back into this, this will most likely act as support and then bounce from there. So that's what I was looking for, to take an entry long, pull back to the volume imbalance and get long from there, targeting buy side and then leaving a runner to go to equal highs or to weekly opening gap or whatever it is, Can you explain how you use Fibonacci? So I use Fibonacci for understanding premium versus discount. So understanding that most of the time when external liquidity or external buy side, external sell side, most of the time we will retrace back to 50% retracement. So for example, if we're looking at a 1-hour time frame here, let me take all this extra stuff off that I don't need now. If we're looking at a 1-hour, once we take buy side, which is this level right here, I then look for what is sell side liquidity, which would, once we took sell side liquidity, I then look for what's buy side liquidity, which is this high right here. So I draw in the recent high and the low that we created. And I know that most likely we're going to retrace to at least 50% retracement like we did today. Retrace to 50% retracement, hit weekly opening gap, and then sold back off, right? So that's how I like to use it. I like to use it as targets and understanding where price is most likely heading next, because we'll always rebalance to discount instead of premium. So for another example, if we took out buy side here, so I go to sell side, which was this low, I draw it in, and I know that we're most likely going to sell off to 50%. We go to 50%, go a little bit below it, have a little bit of bounce, and then we continue back down. If I take sell side right here, but we put this low in first, or we took buy side, I know that we're most likely going to head to at least 50%, which is right here. and we'll most likely go to sell side if we get pushed through. But most of the time when I talk about premium versus discount, I also want to see it on smaller time frames. Like if I get this push right here and I'm looking at a 5 minute, since we have a big fair value gap here, I would want to see us retrace into discount. So I go from the high that was created to the low that was created, and we have two 5 minute fair value gaps. I'd want to see us retrace into this fair value gap first before looking to take some kind of long entry to the upside, because this is now in discount. Can you show your fib settings? Yeah. And then this is standard deviation, which is something we've talked about a little bit. You use the manipulation leg of whatever the liquidity grab is. So for example, if we look today on ES, we have liquidity swept at the high. We have market structure shift. So I take whatever the manipulation leg is, which is the leg to move to take internal sell side. And I use my fib from the high to the low of whatever that low is. And most of the time we'll hit 4. We'll hit 2 to 2.5, and then we'll hit 4 from that sell off or whatever the market structure shift is. Excuse me. But we'll go over that in a separate video. There's a lot of videos on that too. Yeah, so my fib settings, this is it. If you want a screenshot or whatever. Got it. All right. Yep. So yeah. Tomorrow you're gonna trade? Yeah. Is there news tomorrow? Oh. 15 minutes after open, that'll be interesting. Yeah, I'll trade tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with news. Interesting. All right, so going into tomorrow, I am bullish. Again, my bias is this in the overnight session. I'm going to draw this in. We'll see how this plays out. But yeah. Any questions, guys? That's pretty much all I really have for you guys tonight. I'm looking forward to tomorrow, though. We'll see what happens. Was your trade today a W? Yeah, I made around 955 today. We only really took one trade on NQ. It was a little trend scalp. Me and Cheyenne both had good conviction for it, so it was worth taking the trade. But I didn't really get any good setups earlier in the morning. But yeah, bias for tomorrow. So I've already said I'm bullish for tomorrow. This is what I'm expecting in the overnight session: is pull back to this 5 minute fair value gap, and then push to take out buy side liquidity. I think I asked this before, but what determines when to use a previous fair value gap where you drag it forward and use it? Yeah, I got you. So the way I like to use past fair value gaps and drag them over is when we get normally when external liquidity is swept or internal liquidity, like for example on ES here, we get external liquidity swept and we have internal liquidity swept, right? But a lot of new traders that come in, like I don't really use it I don't draw them in anymore, but it's important to sometimes. But I like to see like past fair value gaps, like bearish fair value gaps. I want to see them act. I want to see us push through like above them first before I'm bullish. So if we look at like a 5 minute here, notice that we kept acting like this, kept acting as resistance, even though external swept and internal swept. So this is kind of like a way of looking at market structure shift as well. Like we want to see a push like a strong push through our bearish fair value gaps because we're supposed to be bullish, right? So if we're still rejecting off of past bearish fair value gaps, even though external and internal swept, then we're not ready to go long, right? But notice how this candle, right? This also gives us our market structure shift, and we're able to punch through these past fair value gaps. And a lot of times too, they'll also act as areas of support and resistance if you pull them through, and they'll also align with new fair value gaps like this one that was created here, where we ended up supporting this and then bouncing from there. So that's the kind of like the way I like to use it is once liquidity or internal or external swept, I want to see whatever bias I'm in. If I'm bearish, I want to see bullish fair value gaps get ran through. If I'm bullish, I want to see these bearish fair value gaps get ran through first. If that helps. Hopefully I explained that well. Any other questions? All right. I think that's all I really got for you guys. We have PMI tomorrow. Again, 15 minutes after the opening bell. So most likely not going to take a trade when a market opens. I want to wait for news first and see what kind of action news brings. So enjoy the rest of your night, guys. I will post the recording of this session and last night's sessions right after I end this, so you guys can go back and watch them. And yeah, if anybody has any extra questions, feel free to just add me in the Discord, and I'll help you guys out. So enjoy the rest of your night, guys. I will see you tomorrow morning. Great session tonight. Thanks, man. See you tomorrow. Much love, brother. All right. Enjoy your night, guys. Peace.